we've seen in the past where regular vehicles have been modified for people that have disabilities to be able to drive around. Well, you can pretty much just buy one off the shelf, and it can do that without having to do all the modifications. And I think that's a big game changer as well. So.
Welcome to Tesla Boomers, a podcast where we take you through all the latest technologies from Tesla, so to help you retire happier, healthier, and safer. I'm your host, Chris Derry. Today I had the pleasure to interview Joe Tegtmeyer, a financial services expert and Air Force veteran that I met a couple weeks ago at the Chattanooga Charge, a meetup that attracted Tesla owners from all over the South. Now, Joe and I quickly discovered that we had a lot in common. Both of us graduated from the Air Force Academy 15 years apart. Joe in '88 and me in 1973. So, Joe, how did graduating from the zoo, that's what we used to call it, prepare you for what you're doing today?
It's a very good question. Thank you very much for having me on. I very much appreciate it, and it's great to be able to talk about technology, Tesla, and the future with a great audience here. So thank you very much for that. And Chattanooga Charge was really a fun event too. So if people haven't had the chance to come out to one of those things, I would definitely recommend that they go out and experience that. Going back to the Air Force Academy, the reason why I went there is that I wanted to be an astronaut, and I got my degrees in astronautical engineering. So that was my main focus of what I wanted to do. And that's kind of helped shape my rest of my life and why I'm so interested in technology, space, and right now with what's going on with Tesla, because it kind of fits into that whole technology and that future that I've been very interested in for quite some time. And of course, the Air Force Academy helped set me up for a long career in both the Air Force and also gave me a lot of skills I think that I'm using right now with what's going on with covering all of these very fascinating subjects. So, you know, uh, Air Force Academy is just a great learning environment, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to do that.
Well, Joe, different than you, I went to the academy to play football
Ah, okay.
and get a great education.
Mm.
However, I was told I was too small and too slow, so I never made the varsity.
Ah,
But
okay.
I got a great education, as we both can agree. So, Joe, you're out there in Texas with your drone, capturing Tesla's Gigafactory like it's some kind of sci-fi movie set. So, what's the wildest thing you've seen evolve at that place in the last 12 months?
Last 12 months. Well, I've been doing this for 5 years, so there's been a lot of change. I used to talk about when I first started, it was just sand and gravel mine. I tried to make dirt sexy to make that exciting for my audience, and that came to worked out pretty well over the 5 years. And there's been so many changes along that time. In the last 12 months, probably the biggest change that I think that we've been seeing at Giga Texas, and actually more like Tesla in general, and maybe even broader than that, is really the advent of AI and how much that is really infiltrating into every product, every construction project that they have going on, and pretty much the future of Tesla. And the reason why I say that is that one, we have full self-driving, which is the autonomous driving of the vehicles, and that's both a product that consumers can purchase and benefit from, but they're also getting ready to roll out a Robotaxi fleet starting up in just a few months here in Austin. So that's going to be helping a larger audience who may not own vehicles or this would like to be able to get around without having their own car. We also see the Optimus robot coming into play, and that's going to be coming pretty soon. And I think that's going to be pretty transformational because we're going to be able to see the real world physical AI coming to the marketplace. We're going to see that at our homes. We're going to see that in businesses. I know Tesla's going to be using that in their factories initially, but I think that that could be very transformative as well. And then, one of the other things is that to do that, you need to have a pretty powerful data center. And we're seeing construction at Giga Texas to support the data center. Down on the south end, they extended the building about 400 and so feet, and that's all for the cooling systems and all of the computer clusters that are there to do the training for full self-driving and also for the Optimus. But with that comes really high power requirements. So we're seeing upgrades and extensions of the power systems for Giga Texas. And the amount of power is just tremendous if you think about what is needed for the computer clusters. Once it's fully up and running and they have both Cortex 1 and Cortex 2, which is two of those data centers, we're talking over 500 megawatts of power just to power the AI data center. So over the last 12 months, we've been seeing all of that coming to fruition at Giga Texas, but broader with Tesla. And as I said, even broader than that, we see that across industry, how AI is really starting to transform things.
Joe, as a baby boomer, I've been talking to my colleagues who are about the same age about the benefits of full self driving, of autonomous driving. And I understand that there's some testing that's going on around Giga Texas. Would you talk to us about that?
Yeah, like I mentioned, they're going to be having the Robotaxi fleet being announced here in Austin in June, and it looks like they're on target for that. So what they've been doing is to get ready for that announcement and rolling that out, and then eventually it's going to be rolling out to the rest of the country. They've been doing a lot of testing at Giga Texas, one of which is with the robo taxis. Now, if your audience isn't familiar, Robotaxi is a new vehicle. It's got room for two people, but a large trunk. And it doesn't have a steering wheel and it doesn't have pedals. So it's pretty much all autonomous. And that could be a little bit frightening if you've never experienced that, but the technology is coming along pretty well. And they've been using a lot of the non public roads around Giga Texas for that cybercab testing. And we see that all over the site. And the good thing about Giga Texas is that it's a construction site in addition to a production site. And why is that important for the cyber cab and the robotaxi fleet? And that's because they have a lot of vehicles, a lot of industrial vehicles traveling through the same spots that the robotaxis are being tested. And it's always changing. It's never the same. So they're getting a chance to test within a lot of different environments and situations that you might not think would be the case around a factory. In addition to that, they've been also using some of their new Model Ys with some sensors on the vehicle out throughout the city of Austin, and they've been testing out some of the routes and making sure that their full self driving system is working well with what's going on with Austin, just so that when they do the rollout, it's as smooth as possible. In addition to that, they've been training some drivers. They're going to be most likely rolling out the robotaxi with some drivers as supervised initially, and I think that's mostly regulatory and also probably just to make sure it's safe and kind of assuage some fears that people might have getting into a car that has no steering wheel or pedals or a driver at all. But they've been doing a lot of testing, throughout Austin with that. And the last part that they're testing out is they're going to need to charge the vehicle, so they are doing charging testing. They're going to need to be able to clean the vehicles in between rides, so they're testing out that. So it's pretty much that full system that they're putting through the test right now, and that's all going on in and around Giga Texas and in Austin.
So lately, Joe, I heard that once the cybercab gets into full production, that Tesla will produce one, that Giga Texas will produce one every 5 seconds. And that what that means is that cities will be able to get their allotment of cybercabs, and the total is something like 16,000 per day. Imagine that coming to Chattanooga, to Nashville. So it won't be long until cybercabs are available all over the country.
Yeah, and the way to do that, it doesn't mean that you start from raw materials and you have a car in 5 seconds. It means that it's the run rate of vehicles coming off the line. But the way that they're going to be doing that is that they're going to be using their AI, they're going to be using the robotics, they're going to be using some of the manufacturing skills that they've been developing. That's much more autonomous and much more efficient. And they're also doing some processes called the unbox process, which is kind of like reimagining how vehicles are built in the first place. And it's also a concept called design for manufacturability. So they design the product with the idea of building it, and then they introduce robotics and AI and all of these manufacturing improvements to be able to make that happen so quickly. Now, the other thing is you know, because it's going to be going so quickly and it's going to be so automated, the actual space for the construction and the production of the cyber cabs is going to be virtually human free. And that's just because things are going to be moving so quickly and they're going to be using so much autonomy that there really is no room for humans. So it's going to be a revolutionary production line to be able to support that. And to your case, or to your point, is when they are able to make that many, they're going to be able to go to a lot of different regions around the country and throughout the world very quickly. And I think speed to market is one of the other hallmarks that Tesla is bringing to that. And the last part I would say is that some people may be familiar with robotaxi fleets like from Waymo, which uses sensors and they drive autonomously, but they tend to be in geographically fenced off areas in very small locations around the country, couple of cities, and they can only work within certain regions with those cities. The system that Tesla's bringing along is basically vision only, and it can be used pretty much anywhere, whether it's dirt roads, well marked roads, just city roads, highway. And I think that's going to be revolutionary as well. So you take the manufacturing capability, the speed to market, and the fact that it can be used pretty much anywhere. And I think that's going to be game changing.
Absolutely incredible. So, Joe, you've been deep in the Tesla rabbit hole. How do you think Elon's brain works differently from, say the average car industry CEO?
Well, I think it's a good question, and I think it has to do a lot with what the focus is of CEOs of various companies, and in this case, you're mentioning auto companies. Most of the CEOs are focused on building their vehicles or vehicle fleet, maybe doing some upgrades to that, but they're also focused on the bottom line and their stock owners and that kind of thing. And I think they're pretty much focused on just vehicles alone. And they also tend to not necessarily be the engineers or the scientists that actually know how they're all put together. They tend to be more finance or maybe just business smart type people, and they're looking at it more of that angle. With Elon, I think he has a bigger picture in mind, and it all goes back to his desire to go to Mars, and then he's built a series of companies that each is providing a element to making that mission happen. For example, with Tesla, we have electric vehicles, we have motors, we have batteries, we have solar power. We're also bringing in AI and the robots so that we can have that physicality to AI. All of those technologies, the logistics chain and the supply base are all necessary to be able to have an off-world Mars kind of economy. If you look at other companies, for example, SpaceX, they obviously are providing the method for us to get to Mars, but they're also developing all kinds of different capabilities to allow us to get there, live and operate, and be able to be there safely. So, spacesuits, communication systems, the rockets themselves, habitats, and all of the infrastructure that you would need to be able to actually make that happen. And then you can look at all the other companies that he has. So, with that in mind, when he approaches his products, he's thinking not only how can he make it as a product that's very interesting for people here to be able to be used on a daily basis, but he's also looking at that dual use for the longer term. And to do that, he has to really go back down to the basics. So he uses, first principles approaches to whatever design that he has. He tries to make them as he says, as least dumb as possible first, and then work the way through so you iterate to a point where when you automate, it's really what you actually need, and it's not, extra stuff that may be, nice, but it's not really as efficient as it necessarily could be, or it may be missing that mark. So, um, overall, I think he's got that picture and that's what he's building for. And I think that separates him a lot from just a regular, say, car company CEO.
Joe, you're just nailing it. I'm almost through with Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon. And if our listeners really want to understand Elon Musk, that biography is the best because it's not necessarily Walter Isaacson saying that Elon is the best, the best, the best, the best. It's a pretty it's a pretty good picture for how Elon Musk has educated and trained himself and all his experiences all of his life to be able to do what he's doing right now.
I would also want to add one other thing when we think about Elon Musk. You mentioned Isaacson's book and kind of an insight to him and all that. I think one of those strongest traits that he has is the ability to bring in really talented people that can do some amazing things. He kind of gives them a vision about what he wants to do, but then he lets them do the work and he really empowers them to do it. And the other part I think is really important, and I think it gets lost a lot, is that we have a lot of talented people that work for a lot of different companies or the government, but they tend to work on things that may or may not ever come to fruition. Or if it does, they spend a whole career working on that one thing, and then maybe it's done and that's it. What Elon does is he not only empowers the people, but they're working on things that next week are actually being used. So people are actually seeing the work that they're doing being used constantly. And so I think that really is exciting to a lot of these energetic, young at heart. I wouldn't say just young people, but people that are able to look at different alternatives and consider different ways of doing things and making it happen, and then actually seeing it being put into place and being used. I think that that is greatly underestimated, and it's a strength that he brings to all of his companies.
You're out there talking to fans and skeptics, whoever. So let me ask you, what's the dumbest misconception about Tesla you keep hearing that just drives you nuts?
Well, probably, as you know, right now in this environment, there's a lot of things that are being thrown around by people that have various narratives or agendas that they want to push, or just the impressions that they have. But I think probably the biggest one is that Elon is the only one doing anything in any of his companies. So if he is not at Tesla 100% of the time, then Tesla is not going to be producing anything. Or if he's not working on the Raptor engines of the Starship, the whole program is just not going to go anywhere. As I mentioned before, he's got a talent of bringing in some really incredible people. And it's at the top level. For example, Gwynne Shotwell from SpaceX, I think is, from the public standpoint, very underappreciated what she has brought to SpaceX. But I would say that SpaceX would not be SpaceX if it wasn't for Gwynne. And of course, he's brought in a lot of other top talent to run the company, and all of his engineers, all the way down to the people that are just doing the welding on the ships, or the people that are making sure that the vehicles are finished up and ready for transport. Across the board, he's brought in a lot of talent. There's a lot of great people making the mission happen every single day, and it's pretty sort of, I guess, frustrating a bit to see that people just focus on him only, and they think that he has to be the one turning the wrenches, or else nothing's going to happen. He's got a great team, and it's much deeper and a much broader than most people give him credit for. And I think we lose sight of that. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that bothers me from when I just talking about people out there that are either skeptics or fans, but are disappointed of what's going on at this moment in time. I think you just need to look at the bigger picture, have a little bit longer window of how things are going to progress and look at where we are actually heading and all of the various technologies that he's bringing to the forefront. And so that's pretty much where I would say is my biggest frustration point.
Got it. I couldn't agree more. So you've been influential in terms of conveying what Tesla's technologies can do. And I'm curious to know, are there some people in your family or around you who are in my generation, not yours, not Gen Xers, whom you have seen engage Tesla successfully?
When you say engage, you mean like use some of their products?
Products, the Powerwall. I mean, whatever Tesla's doing, Tesla has multiple technologies that can help baby boomers live better.
Yeah. Well, what I would say with that is, I have I am much younger than my sisters. I have 3 sisters, but they are all about 15 to 19 years older than me. So that puts them clearly into I think the group that you are talking about. Um, but there you go. But before I get into that, a little bit of a side story on that. One of the reasons why I was interested in Tesla and the technology has to do with the autonomous driving capabilities. And that's something I've been interested in for a long time. Going back to when I was at the academy, I was always just thinking about, well, how would you make a self driving car? And of course, this is before we had GPS, or at least as it was coming online. It was before we had really high powerful computers and optical sensors and all that stuff. So I was always trying to imagine what would it take to be able to do that and just how daunting of a task that would be. Um, Fast forward, my mom, when she started getting too old to be able to drive and she lost her driving capabilities, she was always lamenting about the fact that she lost her independence. And all she wanted to do is go to the dollar store, nothing, crazy, but she just wanted to be able to on her own go do that without having to rely on other people, and she felt like she just really lost a lot when she was unable to drive, and, that kind of has stuck with me for a long time, and it kinda reinforced my idea about autonomous driving, and, I realized at that time this would have been, probably about 2015, 2016 or so, so, about a decade ago. I realized at that time that, not only was the technology not there, so my mom wasn't able to take advantage of it, but I also realized that with her and her generation, and broader speaking, older people, they're not all comfortable with technology. So that was kind of a barrier for her too. So, she was trying to understand what Facebook was, and she always thought that it was a personal message to her. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's more like a bulletin board that everybody can see. But she tried, but she was struggling with the technology. So I kind of got in my mind that understanding the technology and being familiar with the technology is an important part of autonomous driving. Another part of that is getting into it and being familiar enough so that you have kind of a muscle memory and you understand how that's working. So it's not something that is so rare or so disruptive and you don't understand how it works when you need it the most. So learning it when you don't actually have to rely on it, I thought would be a very important thing. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of got into it more, is so that I could, for myself later on, it wouldn't be so new. And of course, the technology had to develop. So that started with my mom. Now, fast forward to my sisters. All of my sisters now are getting very close to that point where my mom was, where they're not as comfortable driving. Maybe at night is not the best time, or if it's a really busy period, like say traffic or whatever, they get a little bit uncomfortable with that. So, they can definitely benefit from having technologies like self-driving. And two of my sisters recently purchased new Teslas specifically because of the autonomous driving. And it's been very interesting to see their experience. On the technology side, they're better than my mom was, but they're still kind of uncomfortable with technology, or they're not sure, "Well, if I hit this button, the whole thing's gonna stop working," or whatever. So they're working their way through, and it's been great to see how they've kind of embraced that, and they're trying it out and learning a little bit better, and they're actually getting excited about it because, like, for example, my middle sister who just purchased a Model Y. Her and she and her husband just went on their anniversary, and she sent me a message. And she goes, "We went on our anniversary. It was really cool. But the coolest thing is that my car drove me all the way to dinner and all the way home, and it did it all by itself." And she was just thrilled because it made her life easier, and it was immediately affecting their capability of going places where before they were a little bit, not sure if they would want to go do that. Um, my youngest sister also bought a new Model Y, and she has some trouble driving at night because a long time ago, she had LASIK, not LASIK, radio keratotomy on her eyes, and now she gets like stars when she's at nighttime. And this has been a great game changer for her. She's like, I can't believe it. It's doing all of this for me, and it's making her getting around so much easier. And in both cases, they're learning how the technology works, and it's kind of cool to see kind of their learning curve and how they're like, oh, well, I can do it this way, or I can do it this way, and it really is affecting them in a very positive way. So I think this is one of the strengths that the technology that Tesla is bringing, and one example of how it can affect and positively impact people's lives. In this case, just people that are a little bit older and they want to get around, but they're not as comfortable as they used to be. We could expand that even more. People that have injuries or disabilities or so forth can take advantage of that too. We've seen in the past where regular vehicles have been modified for people that have disabilities to be able to drive around. Well, you can pretty much just buy one off the shelf, and it can do that without having to do all the modifications. And I think that's a big game changer as well. Um, so I hope that answers your question, but that's a real life example of why I got into it, what my mom's experience kind of gave this knowledge or this idea to, and then how my sisters are benefiting from that. So there you go.
So, Joe, you explain how the technologies, once your sisters and your sisters especially, once they understood and they experienced the changes, the technologies, then they started smiling more. And one of the benefits of owning a Tesla is that you get on air over the internet upgrades to how the car operates. So, would you talk about some of the latest technologies that Tesla has introduced that will help baby boomers feel more comfortable, just like your sisters?
Well, one is just overall, they've been improving the system as time goes on. And unlike, for example, with cars, when you buy one and you take it off the showroom, the technology that is in it is the technology, and it's going to stay as it was, even though things are going to change and progress over time. Teslas are different because of that over the air update, where as new technologies come on, as they improve the system, it's built into the car. You get over the air as long as it's connected to a Wi-Fi at your home or so, and the next day you've got the latest software, and it actually can change capabilities, not just what the color of the lights look like, but it can add abilities for what, for example, with full self-driving can do. Some of the things that they're adding just now is the recognition of audible recognition of sirens, so that if there's police cars or fire trucks or ambulances, the car can detect that and on its own, make sure it gives way to those vehicles. And that's being added right now. Some other capabilities are something they call smart summon, which is, you can be, say, in the grocery store getting ready to check out, and your car is parked somewhere and out in the parking lot, and maybe it's raining or whatever. You can, while you're at the checkout, use your app on your phone and have the car drive up and meet you at the front door. And that could have some benefits across the board. They're going to be adding another capability where I think they call it Banish, but it's basically drops you off at the front of the grocery store, and then it goes park while you're inside shopping. And I think that we right now we think that those are cool, but I don't know if I actually use it type things. But I think once it's all put together so that the car is completely doing it on its own, I think it's going to transform how we think about going out for groceries, for example. Um, and there's just a variety of other additions that they keep adding to the vehicles that physically make them better, not just, different color lights or whatever. I mean, it really does affect the way the car operates and works. And, I think the last part of it is it's like it's going to have your birthday or Christmas is, "Oh, I got a new update. Let's go see what the car can do." And it's kind of exciting and fun that, "Oh, it didn't do that before, but now it's doing it here." And I think that just keeps that, kind of the love affair and the excitement of the vehicle that you purchased for a lot longer period of time.
It's just amazing at how the Tesla system, what, 5 million cars in the United States?
Well, worldwide, it's now almost 7,000,000.
7 million. And what lots of people don't really fully understand is that there are 8, 9 cameras on every Tesla of those 7 million, and they are capturing video continuously, and that video is being sent into the data centers continuously and stored so that once an improvement, once a problem emerges in a particular town, very shortly that problem then is known by all the people in that town because of Tesla's data center. Is that true?
I think for the most part, it works a little bit differently than that. Each of the cars in the Air Force, we used to call it like every airman's a sensor. In this case, every car is a sensor, and so it's out. In the environment, it's collecting the data, it's getting the video on it, and, that video can be, certainly specific clips of what went on, like, for example, if there was a near incident or whatever, it could take that information, and the main system, ironically, the one I was talking about at Giga Texas, Cortex, they can pull that information in and then add it to everybody else's information, go through a training computer, and then they can refine how the car is reacting in certain circumstances. Um, and then they can, once that data set is done, it sends it back out to the vehicles, and then now all the cars get updated so they can handle these kinds of situations. And that's kind of where we're at right now, but we can expand that into the future where it's going to do even more. For example, if people are familiar with the app Waze, which is a way of getting your navigation on your phone, and it's more of like a crowdsourced kind of thing where, hey, there's a police car here. I can put the information in, and then now everybody knows about it. Tesla's going to be able to do the same thing with all of their fleet, but instead of just saying, hey, there's a policeman over here, or whatever, it can start mapping out the data and it can detect if there's route changes, construction, anything that may affect the navigational database. And then each one of those cars is like a sensor, and they can upload it back to Tesla and then download it back to all the other cars so that all of your databases are getting updated live real time. And I think that's one of the areas where Tesla still needs to do some work because sometimes the database that they get and the sources that they're getting isn't exactly updated to today. And that, it puts the car into a position where it sees, and with its AI, it can react to what's actually going on, but it's comparing it to the navigation database, and sometimes there's mismatches. So if Tesla fully uses their fleet as sensors and update the database live, then that can help mitigate that particular problem. So there's a lot of different ways that their camera system, their AI, their computer system can work to do stuff like that to make, in this case, databases better. One other thing, I don't know if your audience is aware of this or not, but every Tesla since 2018 has the computer system, the camera system, and it has the ability to do full self-driving. So if you buy a used one through either subscription or you can just go back to Tesla and purchase the software, you can immediately have full self-driving. So you don't have to buy the brand new one. You can buy one that's 7 years old and it can still do the same thing.
It's been said, and probably said over and over, that a Tesla EV is just a robot on wheels. So, talk to us a little bit about the technology that Musk is inventing for the Robotaxi that will soon be used in Optimus, the humanoid robot.
That's a good question, and it's actually one of those synergies again that I think the way Elon approaches his companies really affects multiple different products. The basic computer system that is used to make the cars drive on the roads, that hardware is the exact same one that's being used in the Optimus robot. So in both cases, they're robots that operate in an environment. The humanoid robot has to work in a different and slightly different environment than the cars do, but the basic fundamental principles, the hardware, the software, the training data, all of that is exactly the same. And so now they can kind of use this hardware that they have in cars and in robots and then be able to amortize that cost across multiple different products and not have to create something specifically to the robot that makes it work and the cars. So I think that's part of the genius of what is going on with this approach. And also the going back to that AI data center that I mentioned, for example, the one up at Giga Texas that is currently working, but it's not fully built out yet, but it's still being used. Can train both the cars and the robots. It's just taking the data and tailoring it to one or the other. So I think, the idea of it being a robot on wheels is, in a lot of ways, very true in that, it senses the environment, it interacts with the environment, it moves through that environment. It's just one of them is on wheels and one of them's on legs.
So, it's incredible for me at the tender age of 74 to imagine that a robot, that I could have a robot in my house doing some things that would help me as I age, and describe how the data center is going to handle those kind of functions in a house that that my Optimus robot could experience, and that could be spread across the entire network of Optimus robots.
I think it's a good question. The first thing I would say, I think it's a misconception. People think that the cars or the robots have to be connected live 100% of the time to that data center for them to operate. That's not how it works. Each of the cars or each of the robots are separate autonomous units that operate within their environment based on the hardware and the software that are within each of those units. So you don't have to have a Wi-Fi link all the time for making them work. But where it does work is, let's say you have one at your home and you need it to do a specific task. You can teach it yourself how to do that, and it can do it a couple ways. One, you might be able to get, I don't know, an app and upload it so that it knows how to do that task. Or you can demonstrate how to do that task, and it can learn from you. And let's say that that task is something that's pretty common. Well, now the robot can, at certain times, upload that information to the main data center, and it can collect that information. It can package it back into another software update and then send it back out to a robot so that now I at my house may have the same task and it will know how to do that because you showed it how to do that. And I think that that's greatly underappreciated right now of how powerful that's going to be. And there's another aspect of it too. It's sort of like The Matrix, the movie, but, if there's a new task that you need to do and the robot doesn't know how to do it, you can just have it upload that knowledge, and then now it can do it. So, I think that's gonna open up the opportunities a lot more than we expect.
I remember the scene, the gal and the guy on top of the building and the helicopter that they need to fly away in. And the guy says to the gal, "Do you know how to fly this?" And she said, "Just a minute." She picks up her phone, and then you see her eyes kind of, and then she's programmed. She gets in the helicopter and they escape.
Well, I don't know if this is, uh, surprising, shocking, freaking for your audience, but, Elon Musk has another company called Neuralink. And Neuralink has the ability over time as it develops to be able to do that in us as human beings. So through this device, we might be able to upload new skills someday.
So, all right, one last one, Joe. Pretend you're calling the shots at Tesla for a day. What's the one insane idea you'd push that you think could blow people's minds?
Well, I think my answer is going to not be what you expect because we talk about AI, we talk about robots, we talk about full self-driving, solar panels, batteries, Neuralinks, we all of that stuff, space, rocket, all those things are great. And we could talk about, what would be a technology that is developed or maybe synergistically bringing some of those together. But to be honest, I think the thing that is most needed that I would want to do goes back to what I was talking about my mom and technology and understanding it, is we need to educate the people, around the world, specifically the ones that are most likely to be beneficial or being able to use this technology. We need to be able to explain the technology, get them comfortable with technology, understand how it can benefit them, and then use it. And I think that there needs to be a program directed at that. And, going back to my sisters as an example, is I spent a lot of time getting them ready to buy a car that had full self-driving. It's not like they just bought one and voila. So I had them at my house. We used my cars. I had them drive through it. I explained how it worked, how they interfaced with the vehicle, what it was doing, what it was not doing, and how to use the screen and all that. So I spent some time getting them educated on that before they made their purchase. And, you know, at first, some of the technology was just, beyond them. The idea that you just get in the car and you can drive. There's no key, there's no button, there's nothing. Or when you stop, you just get out. There's no turning it off. Um, and how do you tell it where you want to go? What are the processes and going through the screen? If you own a Tesla, everything is controlled and your communication is through the app. So if you need service, you do it through the app. If you need to communicate with Tesla, it's through the app. If you want to make some changes, it's through the app. My middle sister is actually kind of funny because she was talking to me just a couple days ago about she really wishes that the owner's manual was a book, a paper copy, and I'm like, "Well, but you have it in the car, you have it on your app, you could bring it up in your computer." And she's like, "I know, but I just want the paper copy." So, all of this being said is I think the biggest thing that Tesla could do that would be mind-blowing is educating people about the technology, understanding how it can benefit them, how they operate with it, and just being familiar enough and comfortable enough to be able to accept it and then reap the benefits that it provides. So that is where I think the biggest need is right now.
I experienced that only a couple of months ago, Joe, when I did a self demo in Eastern Kentucky. And it was unnerving
Mm,
to number one, I couldn't get in the car until 4 o'clock. And 4 o'clock came up, boom, the door opened. Man, this is easy. But when you step into a Tesla EV, it is a lot different. And so I agree with you completely. It occurred to me that if we had somebody like Joe Tegtmeyer who would create a video and they could push a button and say, hey, Joe's going to help you. And remember, this is just a car.
right.
All right. It's just like you've had, but to have someone on the screen and say, now push that little button right there. And on the steering wheel, push that one over there. Oh, yeah. See what happened? I agree with you completely. And especially this goes for all the baby boomers who are intrigued with these technologies, but a little bit nervous to invoke.
Mm. Now, there is something that may be coming that can help bridge that gap a little bit. And it's another technology that comes from Musk companies. It's called Grok. Grok is a AI system similar to ChatGPT or OpenAI, if you're familiar with that. But they're going to be integrating that with the vehicles. And it allows you, when it's fully integrated, to be able to talk to it just like we're talking right now. So you could say, I don't know how to set my speed. How do I do that? And Grok would go, oh, well, it's simple. Just take a look at that scroll wheel over on the right-hand side and move it up or down, and that changes your speed. So yeah, I think that when they get that integrated, it's going to be a powerful addition to Tesla to allow people just to be able to talk in natural language and it be able to understand and be able to help you through some of those questions. So maybe I'll amend what I said about the education. I think adding into that something like a Grok so that you can have that live real-time discussion and immediate feedback will be very helpful.
Imagine you enter the Tesla and Grok says, "Hello, Joe Tegtmeyer. Hope you're having a great day." I use Grok right now, and that's pretty much the interface. It's a very personal interface. So, when do you think that will emerge? When, when,
I would
when will
say
those integrate?
probably this year. Yeah. I think, we are on the cusp of a lot of rollout of technologies that I think most people don't really realize how close we are. We have the Robotaxi fleet that's gonna be announced and put into service here in June in Austin and then spreading out through the country. I think integration of things like Grok into the cars is gonna be necessary because you're gonna be bringing in a whole group of people that aren't familiar with the technology, and be able to talk with it is gonna be important. So I think that may be either linked or very closely related, when those events happen. Um, they're gonna be bringing out very soon, hopefully, we'll getting some announcements soon of an even lower cost Tesla, which is going to allow even more people to experience that. We've talked about Optimus, and the path that they are on right now is by the end of this year, they're going to have about 5,000 of them working in Tesla factories. Assuming that that goes well, probably by mid next year, they're going to start. They're going to be building a lot more of them, but they're going to start allowing employees of Tesla to have them at their homes as more testing. And then maybe by the end of 26 or early 27, it'll be something that we can start purchasing. So that's coming very soon as well. So, all of these technologies, all of these capabilities that we've been talking about are maybe 12 to 24 months away at best. And it's going to be out, and we're going to start seeing that. And I think that's a lot faster than most people realize.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thanks for riding along with us today on Tesla Boomers. For more tips on Tesla's life enhancing technologies, follow us here for new episodes each week. Joe Tegtmeyer, thanks for being here today. If viewers want to get in touch with you, where can they connect with you online?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's great just to talk about all the technology and the fact that the future is bright, and there's a lot of excitement about what's going on with that. I cover a lot of different subjects, most of which are on my YouTube channel, which is just Joe Tegtmeyer. Also on X, also Joe Tegtmeyer. And if you want to be a Patreon of mine, you can look me up. I go by Joe's Last Chance Garage. That's another story, but that's out there as well. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. But most of my videos are on YouTube, and I do a lot on X.
Wonderful. Now, if you don't want to miss my future podcasts, make sure you give us a like below and subscribe. And remember, don't let the old man in.